Medieval Europe. Dark forests, towering church spires, and fear whispered through the air. A woman, chained in the village square, accused of witchcraft. But were these witch hunts really only about fear of the devil, or are there deeper, darker truths lurking beneath? In the Middle Ages, society was grappling with economic crises, but the most dangerous thing was how these crises shook the social structure. The disasters in agriculture were making life in the villages even harder. Widows, elderly without heirs, and women with medical knowledge were targeted because they were the ones who didn't fit into the system, economically independent or seen as dangerous individuals. In a village, it was quite common for a woman to be accused of witchcraft and have her property seized due to land disputes. These witch hunts were not just based on religious grounds, but also became tools in local power struggles and economic interests. In this video, we will explore the lesser-known socio-economic and psychological roots of the medieval witch hunts.
Witch hunts reached their peak in Europe between the 15th and 17th centuries. However, this event did not start overnight. In the 14th century, the Black Death wiped out half of Europe's population, and the subsequent economic collapse, famine, and wars intensified social unrest. The disaster that followed, along with the economic decline, famine, and societal turmoil, created an atmosphere of fear and chaos, leading people to search for a scapegoat. The church linked this fear to witches, labeling them as servants of the devil. While witch hunts reached their height during this period, women were particularly targeted. Society viewed women as weak, dangerous, and uncontrollable, and both the church and governments fueled this fear, leading to the persecution of women accused of witchcraft. In the Middle Ages, agricultural crises and economic inequalities created deep unrest within society. One of the greatest threats of this period was the distrust people felt toward each other, which was exacerbated by the impact of these crises on the social structure. Particularly, widowed women, elderly people without heirs, and healers with medical knowledge were seen as individuals who did not conform to societal norms, often regarded as economically independent or as threats to the community. These women were trying to live independently, often as figures who did not fit into the patriarchal norms of the time. For instance, in a village where there were land disputes, such women could easily be accused of witchcraft, and their property could be seized. Witch hunts were not merely religious persecutions, but also became a tool in local power struggles and economic conflicts. The persecution of women reflected the wider social unrest, power imbalances, and economic rivalries of the time. Witch hunts were a powerful reflection of collective fear in medieval Europe. People feared the unknown. Events like diseases, failed harvests, and sudden deaths created insecurity and panic within society. Women in particular became the focal point of these fears. Healers, midwives, and women with knowledge of nature were seen as figures that didn't align with societal values, and their knowledge and independence were viewed as threats. Psychologically, witch hunts functioned like a form of societal cleansing. People projected their own fears and guilt onto others, finding relief in doing so. This was not just a reflection of the public's fears, but also a form of collective madness. The fear of unknown forces and demonic figures led to the scapegoating of women and a quest for conformity in the social order. While most people are familiar with the infamous Salem witch trials, fewer know about the witch hunts in Iceland. Surprisingly, in Iceland, the majority of the accused witches were men, which contrasts sharply with the common perception of witch hunts primarily targeting women. On the other hand, the Spanish Inquisition carried out witch hunts in a more controlled manner, resulting in fewer deaths compared to other European regions. These regional differences reveal that witch hunts were not only shaped by religious fervor, but also by local cultural contexts and power structures. Moreover, the disproportionate targeting of women in many places can be seen as a reflection of deep-rooted gender inequality, with women often scapegoated due to their perceived vulnerability in society. Medieval court records related to witchcraft were generally kept by the church, local authorities, and feudal governments, and at times they have been lost or destroyed. However, some important sources and examples of witch trials and judicial processes from this period are still available. Here are a few key sources. Malleus Maleficarum, one of the most important texts on witchcraft in the Middle Ages. This book defines witchcraft, elaborates on the crimes witches are believed to commit, and the methods of punishing them. It was widely accepted by church authorities and inspired many witch trials of the period. Salem Witch Trials. The Salem witch trials are one of the most famous witch hunts, occurring in the early modern period but inspired by earlier medieval witch hunts. The court records, testimonies of the accused, witnesses, and the final verdicts remain preserved to this day. Witchcraft trials of the early modern period. These trials, particularly in Western Europe, Germany, France, England, and Spain, left behind numerous court records. Many of these trials document confessions, torture sessions, and court decisions. Local archives often hold these documents, which can be used to explore the dynamics of the trials. Witch trials in England. In England, witch trials were widespread during the Elizabethan and Stuart periods. The Witchcraft Act of 1563 provided the legal framework for prosecuting witches. Court records from places like Westminster, Oxford, and Cambridge contain valuable information about these trials. Witch trials in Spain. The Spanish Inquisition handled witch hunts more systematically. The inquisitorial records in Spain document the trials, confessions, and the methods of torture used to extract information from the accused. These records are preserved in archives related to the Inquisition. Witch trials in Germany. In regions like Würzburg and Fulda, numerous witch trials occurred during the early modern period. The court records of these trials often include confessions made under torture, as well as the final verdicts. Many of these records are preserved in local archives. Witch trials in France. France also witnessed significant witch hunts. Records such as the Inquisition of Toulouse reveal how the French Inquisition approached witchcraft accusations. These records provide insight into the trial procedures, confessions, and judicial outcomes during that period. Witch hunts, while a dark chapter of the Middle Ages, also serve as a mirror to how human nature reacts in moments of fear and helplessness. In times of crisis, aren't we still looking for scapegoats? The fear, uncertainty, and social breakdown seen in the past are eerily similar to modern-day witch hunts. Today, we witness social media lynchings, ostracism, and the blame placed on the other. Are these not the modern equivalents of witch hunts? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more historical insights.